Good afternoon, Jan.
Good morning, Michael.
Yeah, we were just catching up before starting the stream. So, oh yeah, we should probably get that going.
Mm.
So, um, yeah. How have things been over the last week?
Well, good, good. Like usual, I didn't have a lot of time, but I did go back to your Pluralsight course
Oh yes.
because last time I only watched the first half,
Mm-hmm.
so I started again from zero because I already forgot everything, and then went through to the end, and really amazing. Now, I have a couple of questions for you on that one.
Okay,
Can
let's do
I?
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The first one, the isolated one, you had rules and you have skills.
Yeah.
The difference is that a skill is much wider, and it has a progressive disclosure, while rules are just limited.
Yes, I would say that's accurate. Yeah, rules was originally a specification and a feature that Cursor created for their product. And then skills is something that came later, and the Claude team initially created it uh, for their product, except I think they already had in mind that it was going to be a public standard. So it was the
Mm,
Claude team that created the MCP standard, and so then when they created skills, they said we're going to make this a standard as well. Um, and and so yeah, that's why you see both in the course is that yeah, I'm demonstrating um,
mm,
with different platforms, um, and so yeah, cursor rules, they have one level of disclosure. Um, so you can say that a rule is intelligently applied, which means apply always is false. It's not always loaded into context, but it has a meaningful description. And then the way that Cursor executes the rules is that it loads the task into context, and then it loads all those descriptions into context, and then asks the LLM which of these uh, which of these rules is going to help you with uh, that task at hand. Um, and then the LLM comes back with this one, and then it loads the actual rule into context uh, and then continues with the task.
okay, so cursor, even if I have in the rule files, I make references to other files, cursor will load everything at once it decides that the rule is applicable.
Yeah, actually, I don't really know about that. I haven't tried that. The pattern of progressive disclosure, which is what you're talking about there, is doing that in two passes. It might support more than two passes. I don't know, but it seems to just support two passes. That says okay, which so now this is skills. So same idea. Which of these skills? Here are the descriptions are going to be useful for this task, and
Mm,
then load that skill into memory. And that skill is a markdown file with references to potentially to other markdown files.
mm,
And so then it makes another pass and says which of these resources is going to be applicable, and then it
mm.
loads the resource. I don't think rules did the second pass, um, but I haven't actually tried it. It might naturally happen by the way that the LLM is used in this loop. Um, so yeah, the LLM is progressively given more and more context, and then asked, what's the next thing you want to try? Um,
Mm,
and so it might say, well, I want to edit a file. Um, or actually, let's say it might say, I want to read a file. Here's the file name, and here's the section I want to read. And then the host cursor or Claude Code or whatever host will say, okay, let me call that tool. I'll load that file. I'll load that section. I'll put that section into context, and now it reads just like a script. You asked to read this section of the file. Here's the section of the file. What would
mhm,
you like to do next? And then it says, oh, now I want to edit I want to replace that part of that section with this. And then say, okay, so I'm going to call that tool to do the replacement. That shows up as an edit inside of your IDE. And so it continually loops. And so because of that, it might be that when it does that first deliberate pass in Cursor to say which rule is going to be appropriate, that when it loads that up and it sees those references, but it hasn't actually loaded those references in, what do you want to do next might be answered by, oh, I want to read that file.
Okay. So that we should try out.
Yeah.
And or is there any other way foreseen in Cursor to implement skills?
Oh yes, yeah. That's a really important point. Cursor has adopted the skills standard, so Claude skills work in Cursor, and in fact they adopted not just the standard but also the location. So if you put your skills into .claude/skills, then they will work both in Claude Code and in Cursor.
Okay.
Yeah, and Cursor's not the only one that did that. GitHub Copilot has adopted that location. There was another one. I think Windsurf has. Funny enough, Kilo Code has not. So I put my Kilo Code skills in a different folder, but that's just symlinks to the Claude skills.
Yeah, I was surprised when you used GitHub. There was a list with, it was not comments, I think it was skills. Then I said, but how come they are there? But of course, GitHub has the source code, so they can just read it.
Yeah, I think that was a list of agents. Yeah, so the agents standard is also starting to be adopted by several different tools.
Okay.
So I think it might have found the Claude Code agents when it was creating that list. Yeah, I can't remember. But yeah, I do remember pointing out. Look, it's got all these, but I wanted to orchestrate, so I'll use that one.
Then in KiloCode you have an orchestrator mode.
Yes, that's
Cursor.
the most powerful one.
There is no equivalent for the moment.
That is correct for the moment. Although I believe that the others are starting to catch up. But this has been a place where RuCode originally and now KiloCode, the fork, has really been ahead of the curve. It wasn't until Claude Code added subagents that I saw another host, another client do something similar. But the core problem is context management. Context windows are too small, and if you get something into context that is not directly applicable to what you're trying to do, then it can be a distraction. So context window size and context poisoning or context pollution. So with Claude Code's subagents or with Kilo Code's orchestrator, Kilo Code modes, the way that they solve that problem is that an orchestrator, will define a subset of the task and then hand that off to a completely different session and load in a completely different mode or subagent into that session. And then it will continue its work and then return the results back to the orchestrator. So now the orchestrator's context is really small. It just has the original problem, the breakdown that it wants to run, and then the results from each of the different agents. And so that means the orchestrator is able to work on bigger problems and work for longer, whereas each of the agents is more focused and more likely to succeed.
I imagine that, for example, in Cursor, I could ask one agent to call another agent, but it would always be in the same context.
That's right, yeah.
Okay.
Yep. And there's a really popular framework out there right now called BMAD that makes it look like it's doing this. But if you take a look at your context window, it's calling all of these different agents, these different personas within the same session. So it's not really solving the context problem.
Mm.
But it's a really cute trick, the way the BMAD does it.
And you said skills are transferable.
Yeah.
So if I understand well, before you had everybody has his own specialty.
Hmm.
Now everyone in the team gets attributed a part of the work, the the whole software to be developed is cut into pieces, and everybody is working parallel,
Yeah.
and it's independent of his almost independent of his skills,
Right.
and he will use the agents written by himself, the things that for which he has the skills,
Yep.
and by his team members, where each team member write the agent which has his skills.
Yes. Yes. I think that's
Okay.
the most important part of this course, and that's why I just kind of built up to that right there at the end. This is what all of this that we learned about enables, and furthermore, in order to get the most out of these things that we just talked about, this is required. You have to break down the walls that are currently increasing cycle time. So every time your product owner writes a user story, they put it in a backlog and it just waits there. Cycle time is running. And then you pull it into sprint, and then it sits in the sprint backlog until the developer gets to it. Cycle time still running. And then the developer works on it, and then this part is just the back end or the database, and they're the database developer. So they do their part, and they create a commit, and they stick that branch into the repo, and then it waits there. Cycle time is still running. So many different handoffs, and things are just waiting in between. So from the time that you have an idea, just before you've written the user story, to the time that you've actually shipped it to production, cycle time is months. That's crazy. Cycle time
And
could
now,
be hours.
yeah, that's what you demonstrate
Hmm.
for $39
Yeah.
and 1 hour and a half of work of the tool.
Uh-huh.
Um, okay, that was
Yeah.
not a full program, but it was
Yeah, it was a program
it
increment.
was a substantial part of a program.
Yeah. Yeah, that $39 bought you that full that full feature that would usually take months and lots of different people handing things off from one to the next. Um, and yeah, the endless meetings in order to discuss these requirements, discuss that design, and
Mhm.
make sure that I've documented it, shared it with you so that you understand. And okay, here's the API. Now front end you go, and back end you go, and implement that API, and now write to it. Well, I can't test my code until I've got a stub. Okay, let's create a stub. Um, yeah, so many wasted steps.
Interactions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that $40 is much less than what we currently spend on a program increment.
Um, but then today, the team members are writing the agents.
Hmm.
You spoke already about cloud agents, which you tried to demonstrate with GitHub,
Yeah.
but GitHub was not
Uh-huh.
not as powerful as you hoped for.
Yeah. Yeah, and
Um,
that's been typical of my experience with all the cloud agents. I've done that with Cursor and with GitHub and with Kilo Code, and now has their own
mm,
cloud agents, and that one's really frustrating because Kilo Code locally works so well because of
mm,
that orchestrator, but then for some reason Kilo Code Cloud, it just stops working. It it doesn't run autonomously. It doesn't orchestrate nearly as well as the local, and it's like if you
mm,
just gave me that on a virtual machine in the cloud, so I could say okay, start it up, boom, and log off, log back on. That would be a huge improvement over what they've shipped. So, but that is coming. I am confident that early
you
2026 we will
you
have
are
reliable cloud agents.
you are making them right now. No.
Um, I
That
am
could be
I am
that could
actually
be a
in
business.
yeah. Uh, there are so many people already focused on that.
Mm,
So I think where I draw a distinction between what I'm doing and what I see other people doing, I am relentlessly focused on keeping the quality bar high, and
mm,
others I see are willing to sacrifice quality in order to get speed or in order to reduce cost. And I am absolutely not. Um, I see that we've already got speed uh, while quality stays high, and we've already greatly reduced cost while the quality stays high. You know, an hour and a half of a developer's time and $40 out of their pocket is still an incredible savings while still keeping the quality bar high. So, you know, yeah, now people trying to say let's run that hour and a half unattended on the cloud. Um, I say, well, if that degrades quality, I'm not doing it. I need to watch what this thing is doing. When it makes a mistake, I need to go in there and correct it. And that's how you get the agents and the skills that will will produce the next iteration of high quality software. That's how you build these custom modes, custom skills that you share with your team now and enable them to work. So yeah, you have to keep an eye on it. Um, and then once I can sit there for an hour and a half and I'm like, hey, perfectly right, no notes, I'm ready to ship it, and that same thing happens on the cloud, then I'm willing to shift to the cloud. But yeah,
mm.
not before.
No, but what stops, for example, Microsoft from delivering all these agents? Because say, okay, it's company culture, but most of it is best practices.
Hmm. Yeah,
And for example, naming conventions. Well, if you don't really program anymore, who cares about it as long as it is clear and consistent?
yeah,
Um,
yeah, exactly. And so yeah, naming
and it,
conventions are an example of
yeah,
team
they
culture,
still have
team norms.
they still have to be implemented
Hmm.
and followed because that determines the quality of the code
Yeah.
if you have to go in it. But whether you use this type of naming conventions or another type of naming conventions, now it depends on what most of the team members are used to,
Hmm.
or the oldest ones,
Yeah.
they use that. So uh, the new ones who enter the team, that will be the standard.
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
if
Yeah. So the important thing, number one, pick one. So
mm,
there's no right naming convention, for example, but
mm,
pick one and encode that within your skills, your your agents.md, whatever,
mm,
wherever you want to put that naming convention. It does make sense for it to be in the code focused skills, but yeah, pick one, and what that will do is the LLM has no opinion. It's just been trained on the average of all the opinions on the internet, and that will that will index into a subset of opinion that matches that naming convention, for example. And so
mm,
now you're dealing with a smaller set um, of its training data, um, and uh, that means that you're not going to get these inconsistencies. You're not going to mix different things together, and so it's going to produce higher quality output. Um, and then, just like you said, as new team members join, they will see that naming convention. They will be familiar with it. Um, you know, I think we've already gotten past, at least in a lot of the teams that I've worked on, the somebody new joins the team and then wants to do it their way. They join the team, they see the team's way, they say, well, okay, I'll adapt. But then when I work on a different team, here I use M underscore for everything. There I just use
mm,
Pascal case, or there I use camel case.
mm,
It's like, okay, well, just go with the flow. Um, and so I think at the team level, you're still going to get that. The team's going to form. They're going to define norms. They're going to encode those norms, and individuals will be able to adapt to those things that don't really matter so much.
no, but it would be nice if these agents are public available.
Hmm.
Of course, you can always go further and for example, the whole Jinaga knowledge
Yes.
will not come from Microsoft or from another. Um, but so like entity framework, well, agents will be available, I guess.
Yes. Actually, that brings up a really good point that I do want to share something. Uh, Let me.
And so
Yeah.
for a one-man shop like me, there will still be hope.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. We do need to support large teams and small. Yeah, so what we see here, this is the Janaka Skills repository. And so in here, we've got a skills folder that's got Janaga-net and assisticant-view-models. So Janaga-net is a a skill with a set of supporting resources that captures all of the Janaga.net knowledge. I basically said, I developed this initially inside of Nawis, and I said, okay, here is the Janaga.net documentation. Go ahead and read that documentation on the web, and then also look at the patterns that I've used inside of this application, and write me some skills. And so, yeah, it's broken this down into, well, how do we create facts? Well, a fact is a C# record. It's got parent entity references. Here's an example. It's got naming convention for the for the right here. Descriptive names. It knows about the prior the mutable property pattern. So yeah, this captures some of that information that as a developer brand new to Janaga you would not know, and you would have to go look up online. So to get down into the mutable property pattern, concurrent edits. So this is an example of how to get the current names for a customer, and if the count is 1, then multiple concurrent edits are detected. Here's how you do conflict resolution. Present to the user which one, get their choice, and then merge by creating a new fact that has all of the prior ones. Even though this example is written in terms of some declarative code that you would not actually use in a view model, this gets the point across of what the pattern is. And then as it's looking at other things that are to do with view models and data binding and all that, then it can take this pattern and explode it out and put it in the different places. So yeah, how you work with notebooks. All the stuff that we figured out on this channel over the years.
So you extracted all that information, you put it in its own repository, and
Yes.
that's a public repository also?
Have I pushed it yet? Actually, I see right here that I had just pushed it, but this was probably from, probably a week and a half ago now. But yes, so let me share. Okay, so we go to
Jinaga. Skills, yeah, I see it.
Excellent.
And we have assisticant and Jinaga.net.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, I need to switch to the Janaga organization. And the repositories. And skills.
Yeah, it's the third one.
There it is. Okay. Yep. So yeah, that I still need to create a README for it, but that contains just that skills folder. And so the way you use this, let's go to npm open skills. So open skills is an npm package that lets you run something like this: npx open skills install, and then the name of a repo. So if we go to Anthropic's skills, github.com/anthropics/skills, we'll see there's a repo with a skills folder and a whole bunch of skills in it. They've got other things here that are telling the human how to use it, but really all that the open skills tool is looking for is that that skills folder right there. And so it will present a user interface. In fact, rather than talk about it, let's show it. Okay, let's see if this is going to work. Okay. So I'm going to let's go to, yeah, I haven't actually tried. Okay, change directory to projects, and I want to go back to one of my old Janaga.net applications. So let's go to Janaga samples. And yeah, okay, there's Blog Maui. All right. Okay, so I should be able to say Claude. Oh goodness. All right, I don't have Claude installed on the Windows side. This might be a really short demo. All right, Claude. Yep, let's proceed. All right, here's Claude. And so if I type /skills, list available skills, I will see there are no skills. But now I want to exit, and I want to npm or npx open skills install Janaga/skills. And so this should, I haven't actually tested this on the repository yet, but this should, it's giving me a list of the skills that are in the repository. So assistant view models or Janaga -net. So I'm going to say I don't want assistant view models right now because this project doesn't use assistant, at least not yet. So we'll just do this one. So I used space to unselect that, and now enter to do the thing. And okay, oh yeah, it was just that fast. Installation complete. All right. So so now if I look at .claude skills, I'll see that it copied in the Janaga skill. It just copies it in. That's all Open Skills does. But now when I go to Claude, C-L-A-U-D-E, and I say /skills, now there's one skill, the Janaga skill. And so when I ask Claude to do something, now I'm showing this in Claude, but these skills work in several different runtimes now. They work in Cursor just fine. So I might say, explain the model. So now it's going to learn that skill. So I'll use the Janaga skill to explain the Janaga model for you. So it loaded in that top-level resource and then check to see, or that top-level skill.md, and check to see, are there any other skills that are going to be helpful for me to accomplish this task. So it's got just that much knowledge, and then it's looking through the code, and it's saying, okay, these are the Oh, it's actually trying to do some sales for me too. That's fun. Um,
Any
but
benefits?
yeah, yeah. So yeah, facts are immutable. They create a graph. Yeah, telling you all about the wonders of Janaga. It's like, all right, great.
Mm.
Talk to me about the model
Time
itself.
travel. Mm.
Okay. Um, so maybe it was it didn't quite understand. Tell me about the model that is used in log Maui. But but yeah, so the difference between not having this skill and having this skill while you're working with Janaga is that it's without the skill, it's going to say this looks kind of like Entity Framework. There's some link going on, um, so it'll create classes instead of records. It just gets a whole bunch of things wrong, and you have to constantly explain to it. No, it's supposed to be a record. No, it's supposed
Mm.
to follow these patterns. But then with the skill, it looks that up as it needs it, and it applies that knowledge. So it's
Becomes a Jinaga professional.
yeah, yeah. So come on, you can do this. This shouldn't take very long at all. They're all in one file.
Mm.
But yeah. So yeah, kind of getting back. There we go. Yes, we've got usernames, sites with names and domains, posts with titles. Um, oh, it's even talking about here's how you get the current names, the list of the sites, and yeah, using the helper extensions. Yeah, so I'm looking for site successors with no site purged. So a nice little shorthand for the not any. Um, there's actually one that's delete restore that captures that pattern. I didn't use that one. Maybe I didn't document that one. I don't know. But yeah, it's able to see that pattern. So so yeah, this is a skill that is generally useful to somebody who wants to use Janaka, and it contains inside of it my opinions on how to use Janaka, which I think is appropriate um, for this kind of for what the skill is intended for. Um, but
Zoom.
yeah,
Zoom stopped.
oh, did it?
Zoom stopped working. Yeah. My
Uh,
side, it
okay.
rebooted. I don't know why.
Oh, okay. Well,
Perhaps.
I'm just sharing
Mm.
the GitHub repository again.
Yeah, I have it back now.
Oh, okay. Um, yeah. So the the opinions that are expressed in this skill are my own, and I think they are helpful for getting started with using Janaka. Once you get
Mm.
started, you will develop opinions of your own, and so that is why I absolutely love um, that these are inside of your repository. Once it does something that is not the way that you think it should be done, then you have a conversation with the LLM. Say, this is what I
Mm.
prefer. Um, and then it makes the change, and you say, yep, that was right. And now update the skill to capture my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And it will go into these markdown files, and it will change whatever needs to change in order to capture your opinion about how to use Janaka.
Mm. Um, would perhaps be nice if that goes on multiple levels, that you keep the original file,
Mm-hmm.
because the original file might be updated by, in this case, by you. And on top of that, it creates a local file which has priority over the base file.
Yes, yes. And so um, to that end, there is a skill that Anthropic uh, deploy. I don't know why they call their organization in GitHub Anthropics. I think they've got two GitHub organizations, one with an S, one without. I haven't figured out what. But here's a whole bunch of example skills. And it looks like the list goes on forever. It's actually looping. It's not quite that many skills. But so I'm going to hit I to invert so nothing is selected. And right here is skill creator. So select that one. The others are really cool, but skill creator is just what I need for this repository. So it installs skill creator. And now if you take a look at skills, we've got JanaGaNet and skill creator. Skill creator will allow Claude or any of the other tools that use skills to create new skills. It knows what the skill format looks like. It knows the best practices for using skills. And one of the things that it can do is it can package a skill. So far I showed how to install a skill from a repository, but I want you to package the JanaGaNet skill as a zip file so I can share it. And so it's going to use the skill creator skill and yeah, so I'll say yes rather than allow all the time because I want us to see everything that it does. So it should load the skill creator skill because that has a script in it that will create a zip file. That's another thing that that sets skills apart from cursor rules. Cursor rules were sets of instructions. Skills have that set of instructions plus progressive disclosure plus scripts. So they can use Python scripts or Bash scripts or PowerShell scripts or whatever the client host can run. And so that way the skill can be both deterministic and non-deterministic. And well, I don't know if it's actually, yeah, it was waiting for me to say yes, so I'll say yes to all. And so that gives you that power of having both, deterministic runs fast, you know exactly what it's going to do, and non-deterministic can adapt and can goal seek. Both of those things happening at the same time. That's where you get the real power. And so, so here it's going to use, it's just using zip. Let's see, are you using the skill creator skill? You usually don't have to tell it what skill to use. You're absolutely right, it should be using the skill creator skill. Let me look that up. There we go. Now it's running a Python script inside of Skill Creator to package the skill. I was probably just too verbose in my request. I asked it to create a zip file that I could share, so it said, oh, let me focus on that, versus package the skill. It says, oh, how do I package the skill? Let me look for Skill Creator. There it is. So once we've got the package, then I can take that zip file, I can share that with my team, and I can put that in a different repository and say, these are my opinions, and then I can take those off the shelf and install them in the projects where I want them.
That's nice. But so actually, what that skill is doing to zip the other skill is just calling zip and zipping all the files together.
Yep. It writes that to a zip file called JanaGaNet skill.
So if you just copy the subdirectory with Janaga skill to another computer, it will work.
Yeah, that'll work too. Yep. Yeah, this just gives you a standard way of sharing just with one file,
Mm.
and then Claude can install a skill. Just say, hey, I've got this .skill file. Install it for me. Okay, and then unzips it into the right place. So yeah, it's that is how skills are transferable.
Mm. Well, it's amazing to see that with the right guidance, that this tool can do so many things,
Yeah.
and especially your demonstration in the Pluralsight course, where it was actually autonomously.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you still did a review to keep the quality high, um, but in fact, if you would tell it could just run automatically.
Yeah. That's what that is the way that I'm approaching the autonomous agents. Yes, by
Mm.
keeping the quality bar high, creating custom skills, custom agents. Yeah, that's what I refer to as building a software factory.
Mm.
This this book this was from the early 2000s, and they talk about how a development team should focus less on the product and more on the factory that creates the product. And they give techniques for achieving that. One of my favorites being domain-specific languages. But of course, back in 2003, 2004, when this book was written, they didn't know that AI was coming. So uh, so yeah, custom
Mm.
agents, custom skills. That's how you build your software factory, and then the team, the pod, is now a maintainer of the software factory, and they happen to run run new ideas and new experiments through that factory in order to produce new versions of a piece of software. But they are not focused on developing the software. They're focused on maintaining the factory. Yeah, and if at some point it becomes so repeatable and so trustworthy that you can take your eyes off of the agent and let it run for an hour and a half in the cloud, then I'm happy to go there.
So actually, the way this whole thing works is an iterative process where you just write user stories. You give them
Yeah.
to the user story agent. It will automatically be um, transferred to a specification.
Mm-hmm.
Test will be written. The code will be implemented. And in the end, there will be a validator step
Yep.
who reads your initial request,
Mm-hmm.
compares it to the outcome
Yep.
of all these steps, and feedback to the orchestrator, who will start over again with the feedback of the validator if necessary.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. And then when you have that portion, then you tell it, now I want, for example, to implement a different type of weight scale, or I want to have additional weights or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And you go, so step by step, you implement the whole software. Is that
Yep.
correct?
That is exactly right. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And now that you've
Mm.
compressed it down to that really short cycle time, then that that process of feeding it new user stories, that becomes, well, what if? Yeah, let's try this. Let's A/B test this idea. So put in the idea, run the run it through the software factory. Part of the software factory includes knowledge of how to run an A/B test.
Mm.
So that knowledge comes from not just the product design, but also from marketing. It comes from the security organization. They know how to choose the right customers to do this A/B test. They know how to make sure that it's running in isolation if it needs to, and and then you ship an experiment before the end of the day, and
Yeah.
now you're collecting that data on that experiment. and you use that to decide what tomorrow's user stories are. That's
Mm.
that's the world I want to get to.
But at that moment, customers will see that it goes very fast.
Hmm.
So they will say, why is that going to be so expensive? It could be cheaper.
Yeah, yeah. There's yeah. We still need to figure out the economics of this whole thing,
Mm.
because what used to be scarce is no longer scarce. So the reason that you paid a lot of money to one organization is because they hired
Mm.
developers, and those developers had skills, and they had to retain them, um, and uh, and and so that scarcity has moved, but I don't think the scarcity has gone away. Um, the the sorts of things that a really really talented developer would be able to do, had to do with writing code, had to do with debugging, had to do with coming up with a good implementation design. And increasingly, we're seeing the LLM being able to take on those tasks. It's really good at generating code. It's very decent at debugging, and coming up with a design. It can come up with a few options, and I usually say, "Give me several options," and then I review them and I say, "Pick that one." Um, so it's really that choice, that discernment of which is the better option, um, that is still the scarce resource, because not certainly your average person who hasn't done any development doesn't have that
Mm.
discernment, that taste. Um, the other members of the pod have similar um, skills that they bring to it. The product owner is they're a domain expert, and um, they're able to discern between two different ways of representing a problem. It's like that mental model is not quite right. That one is better. They can see the difference, and they can tell which one's better. Um, the skills that the LLM takes on, writing a user story, writing acceptance criteria, thinking through all the different edge cases, and loading them all into the user story. Um, those are skills that the product owner had to also take on in order to do the complete job. But now they can give those skills away to the LLM and focus on the things that really make them unique. So yeah, I think every single team member has some set of skills that are still very scarce, and now the reason that people will pay um, for software will not be because it's difficult to write and it's difficult to deploy and difficult to maintain. They will choose that company over that company because they've got better opinions.
Yeah, but the fact that it goes much faster,
Hmm.
I think will have an influence on the price.
Absolutely, will.
Um,
Yeah.
now there is a limit. It's like that woman that goes to a garage and say my engine is not running fine, and the garagist he came with a hammer and he said,
Uh-huh.
okay, that's $100. Huh?
Uh-huh.
It's running again. All the knowledge he had that he had to give a tick with his hammer there to make it work again.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a lot of work and experience to accumulate all that.
Yep.
So that's worth the $100, not the fact that he had to work an hour for that.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah,
So
that's what I think we've got is better hammers, but it still takes our knowledge to know where to apply them.
yeah, yeah. As long as the tools don't make all the decisions.
Right. Right. Yeah. That is the that is what's going to set the successful companies apart from the unsuccessful ones. Is
Mm.
an unsuccessful one will see that hey, I can talk to Lovable and I can get a website, and so I will ship that website, and then I'll try to charge people for that website. It might look great and they can iterate fast,
Mm.
but yeah, somebody who's got a better sense of what that website should do, a better sense of what the customers want, better relationships, better network with those customers, they're going to do better, and they're going to produce a better product, and they're going to be able to charge more for it. And that other person, this is what I absolutely love. This is the crazy part. That other person is not a better technologist than the first one. They're not a better engineer. In fact, as of today, they might know nothing about HTML, CSS, backend databases, or anything. But if they assemble a team that has opinions on those things, then they can take their opinions and they can build a much better product.
It's the way they combine all the resources and
Yeah.
the way they act with the customers,
Mm-hmm.
the way they have the trust
Mm-hmm.
the customers to build a solution.
Yeah. Yeah. I think my job as a consultant is going to be changing. This probably isn't going to be 26. This might be 28 or so. But I don't know. Things are moving so fast. I was listening to a Nate B. Jones on YouTube, and he was just talking about how in December of 25 there was an inflection point. And I was thinking back and say, yeah, before December, I thought about things this way. After December, I think about things that way. It's like, yeah, that's how fast we're moving. It wasn't one thing. It was a lot of things happening all at the same time. So anyway, this prediction might take place in later 26, but I don't know. Right now, as a consultant, I have one client. Primarily, some consultants serve a couple of different clients, build 20 hours each. Um, but one client, I go there, work with their people, and build a team that builds a solution. So once we get to the point where we've got, we're practicing transferable skills among the team, then the role of the consultant could very well change to not billing 40 hours to this client, but instead leasing my skills and my agents to them. So I periodically come in, check on the pod, see how the software factory is running, say, oh, okay, we need to tweak this one, we need to tweak this one. All right, yeah, keep it going, and I'll see you, in 3 days. I'll see you next week.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that is how the person who has a really great idea and they want to build a company out of it is going to achieve that success. They still need somebody that has that expertise, that experience in the engineering skills, and they simply don't need that person to be on their team 40 hours a week. They just need to borrow their skills, borrow their agents, and their attention every once in a while to keep everything running.
Next problem will be, how do you protect that skill file?
Yeah. By its very nature, it can't be protected. It's got to be an open Markdown file.
Mm-hmm.
Are we going to have DRM on skill files? I hope not.
Oh.
But
That's not going to work.
yeah, the value of a skill file degrades as it's not maintained. So yeah, the Janaga skills are good for the first time Janaga user, but as you develop your own opinions, you need to grow that skill. So yeah, I think there may be there may be some stealing of skills, but yeah, if you don't have the person with the expertise and the taste and discernment to maintain that skill, then it's going to atrophy. It's not going to your software factory is not going to work to peak performance.
Because anyway, if you have one hole in the knowledge somewhere, with the rest of the experience you can close and you can look up. But if you have holes everywhere, in the end the problem is so overwhelming that you cannot solve it anymore.
Yeah.
So you will still need somebody who has that overview, that experience.
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
lead the team or to work towards a solution.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think I just kind of dumped on Lovable a little bit there, but actually I'll bring that back because I think that's one thing that Lovable brings to their product. If you use Lovable and develop an application, you are borrowing the opinions of the engineers that work at Lovable. So they will say, hey, you're going to use Supabase, you're going to use React, you're going to use a stack that looks like this. And so they've already baked those opinions into their prompts. So um, so yeah, I think that somebody who's got an idea and wants to get it out there, they're basically borrowing Lovable's, they're renting Lovable's expertise. Um, the problem is Lovable's expertise is every application looks exactly like this, versus a consultant says, oh, your application looks a little bit different, so let's tweak that and let's maintain that.
Yeah.
So that's the world that I want to live in.
But standardization also has its advantages.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, it does. And yeah, so this brings it back to Janaga. The Janaga ecosystem is similar to Lovable's chosen ecosystem of React and Supabase. The Janaga ecosystem is, these are the tools that are you're going to have the replicator, you're going to have the aggregator, you're going to have the orchestrator. I haven't talked about the Janaga orchestrator yet, but that's going to be a third infrastructure component, and you're going to deploy them into your cloud, into your infrastructure, and you're going to then deploy parts of your application to each of those, and they're going to work together like this, and a whole set of opinions on how a Janaga application goes together. And so I think that I will end up serving a very similar role to Lovable in that I'm shipping a blanket, this is how I think applications should look, type of set of agents and skills. And then in addition to that, as a consultant, I can come in and say, that's a great starting point, and for your application, we need to use a Janaga orchestrator in this way. So let's tweak that. And this is going to work better for your use case.
There we have a conflict, a naming conflict between an agent orchestrator and a Janaga orchestrator.
Yeah, I chose the name orchestrator in order to say, yes, it runs agents. That's not all that it runs, but basically a Janaga orchestrator is running those back-end workloads, whether they be deterministic or non-deterministic.
Yeah, but it's a bit confusing with the orchestrators in. But okay.
Yeah, it's intended not to be confusing, but instead to evoke, yes, the thing that you call an orchestrator, that's what this thing does too. So, yeah. So on a future episode, I'll share the Janaga orchestrator vision. I don't think I've even fully shared the Janaga aggregator vision. I talked about Janaga Cascade. Cascade is the client side for the Janaga aggregator.
Because Cascade, you want to talk about it next week, I think.
Yes. So you won't be there next week. So yeah, I am. I'm going to try really hard to have a Janaga Cascade build in at least one of the two desktop app stores. So either Microsoft or Apple, or hopefully both. But at the very least, I will do a full demo of where Janaga Cascade is now. I'll show off the cool new logo, and we'll see how that part of the story progresses.
Okay.
Very good. So then I will see you in 2 weeks.
I will try to make use of the Janaga skills.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, now that I see that they actually work, go use them. They're both actually already in the Nowist repository. That's where they came from. But yeah, if you wanted to try them out on the DWS repository, yeah, that would be fun too. Haven't installed them there yet.
Well, let's first look back to Navis
Yeah.
because I have to catch up a little bit.
Yeah.
Good. So next week I'm not there. The week after I will be back.
Excellent. Well, I hope you have uh, an enjoyable trip, whatever you're doing for the next week.
No, it's a training on Thursday,
Okay.
but it has nothing to do with software.
Okay. Well, that's good.
It
That's good. There
has
are
to do
other things.
with emergency responses.
Oh, yes. Okay.
So
Yeah, you
yeah.
did mention that. All right.
Okay.
We'll make the most of that. And
Absolutely.
I will see you in a couple of
Mm,
weeks.
okay. Michael, thank you very much, and see you in 2 weeks' time then.
Thank you. Take care.
Okay.